Atlanta. All right. All right, guys, we're 3 minutes in. We can go ahead and get started. Let's go to the next slide here. So today's session is Streamline Support and Service Operations Workspace, Agent Chat and Playbooks in Action. So this is our third Academy series for SOW, and I'm happy to have all of you here today. A few housekeeping. Before we jump in, I just want to go over some of these housekeeping items. Please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to ask any questions you may have during today's event. We'll try to answer them throughout the session or at the end. We also will be sharing this presentation. I know all of you have questions about, is this presentation going to be shared? Is this recorded? Yes and yes. It will be located on our Live on ServiceNow ITSM page. So I put that in the chat already. I will put the link again in the chat. So let me do that. So you can access this recording and past recordings in that link I just sent. Again, questions and answers will be answered throughout the session, and this will be recorded. So I'm just going to make sure I put that in there. If you have questions, use the Q&A button. So that's just something that we have. After this webinar, this is super important as well. You'll be prompted to fill out a short survey. Your feedback is super invaluable. So if you have time, please take the survey. All right, so you see this message all the time. This is our safe harbor slide, which is there to keep our lawyers happy. To summarize what it says, you may see more forward-looking statements today. Please don't make any purchasing decisions based on anything in today's webinar. All right, we have a wonderful speaker today who has been answering your questions during these series. So if you have been in the Academy series before, you probably got a question answered from Amanda herself. She's super smart and helps customers like you every single day. So Amanda, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, no problem. But hello, everyone. If you're part of Impact at all, you might have seen my face or seen my name floating around. But my name is Amanda Sones, and I'm one of the technical accelerator consultants in the task team. My team specifically, we're responsible for creating the Jumpstart and Tune-Up accelerators, so Impact customers for the most part. You're the most familiar with our team, but pretty much we offer a collection of technical accelerators around multiple ServiceNow products like Service Operations Workspace, ATF, just a couple of different plugins and features from different product areas. So our main goal is to help customers get that technical deep dive into best practices around capabilities of that product, as well as that initial implementation help.
All right, thank you, Amanda. So I'm Brittany Lassiter. You may have met me before if you've attended one of these series or SOW Academy series before. I've been with ServiceNow for a little under a year as a senior product excellence manager, where we help increase the adoption of ServiceNow ITSM products for customers. I have been a customer and a partner just like you that's on the call for about 10 years. And during that time, I was an IT service manager, process owner, and for numerous processes, as well as a ServiceNow consultant. So I hold an ITSM 4 master certification, so I love process. I also am a ServiceNow sysadmin cert. And one of the reasons why I'm leading the Academy Series effort is to ensure we increase utilization and adoption of SOW or Service Operations Workspace. So I hope this session today is helpful. We did get a lot of great feedback for the other sessions that they said it was super helpful as well. So that's awesome. And it leads us to the next slide here. So with this Academy series, we want to help you and partners effectively utilize configuring SOW features so we can achieve the maximum value of Service Operations Workspace. So we want to empower admins and we want to gear up process owners with all the information they need for SOW. And as you can see on the right, there's some dates of our sessions. There's no September. I know before we were alluding to a September session, but don't worry, there's an October session and it's going to be about AI. We love artificial intelligence, and that's what October session will be about. So wait up for that. To review the past sessions, we had our first session in June on getting started with Service Operations Workspace. I went over plugins, roles, I showcased configurations around audiences and landing pages and dashboards, and my manager also went over incident forms and SOW. Last month in July, we talked about people, process, and platform. So when you're transitioning to SOW, so if you're interested in that, I'm going to put it in the chat the YouTube series, so you can get directly to those. And let me do that now. But what we talked about in that session was OCM, organizational change management, as SOW changes the way users work. And of course, the platform configurations around IT change management and showing somewhat of the difference between UI 16 of IT change management and SOW. So check it out. It's a great session. I put the sessions in the chat itself. And hopefully you are seeing it in the chat. Oh, you're not seeing it in the chat. I'm sending it. Okay, let me. Okay, there are all the links. I think someone asked about the links. I'm going to re-put the links in there. Okay. You guys are seeing it now. I'm getting a thumbs up. Okay, good feedback here. All right, so next, the agenda. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. Today's session will start with an overview of what these products are, followed by demos on setting up agent chat and advanced work assignment. We'll also be configuring playbook actions task using an incident management use case. We'll discuss how these features work together to create a seamless support journey from user inquiry to resolution. So an end-to-end scenario there, and I'll talk about that demo. From there, we'll talk about the impact playbook accelerator that you could attend based on the customer that you are, and then end with question and answer sessions to address your questions. All right, but first we have a couple polls. Let me start the poll. We want to learn more about our audience. So what is your primary role and the level of influence implementing Service Operations Workspace? We'll give a few people a few moments for people to answer. All right. About 100 of you are answering. Okay, so let me end the poll. It's 109. Share results. So a lot of you guys are admins, and that's perfect because we will be going over some of the configurations that admins have access to. We also have a lot of process owners, which is amazing because we're also going to be talking about playbooks. And process owners will learn about digitizing the processes and procedures that they have today to streamline their incident management process or any process that they might have. We're going to showcase that using playbooks today. So admins, you guys have some great stuff, and process owners, and of course, end users and leadership decisions and other, you guys can also check out a lot of the things that we're going to go over today, and it should be interesting. We have one more poll. Let me launch that. Okay. So tell us where you are with the implementation of Service Operations Workspace. Okay. About 100 of you guys have shared your answer out in the poll. From there, I'm excited. I'm excited because at first, when we first started, I saw a lot of people just exploring. But now we have people partially implementing SOW, and I love that. And that's what we're looking for. We are looking for the adoption and the utilization of Service Operations Workspace because it's an amazing product and we want you all to use it. So I am happy about that. Okay, thanks for sharing the poll results. and participating in the polls. It's great to see that diverse roles and the stages of implementation. But before we start configuring, we have to tell you what it is first, right? What is playbooks? What is agent chat and advanced work assignment? And that's what our next slides are going to be about. So let's dive in. All right, Playbooks in Service Operations Workspace is a no-code way to build cross-enterprise workflows in a single process, providing a simple user interface for real-time interaction with business or process workflows. That's a mouthful, but to keep it simple, playbooks are processes or even procedures. And that's what I'm excited about to show you all how the procedure or the process works, as well as how to configure that in the back end. So, as a process person, the definition of a process is a series of actions or steps, and we're going to showcase that taken to achieve a particular end result. And that's what we're looking for, that end result. In ITSM, the end result can look like increasing first call resolution, reducing average handle time, and improving customer satisfaction or CSAT. So how does ServiceNow playbooks do that? Let's look on that right side here. They guide agents and fulfillers through complicated processes from start to finish, so end to end, improving customers' experiences and task resolution by eliminating uncertainty about next steps, because those next steps are already in the playbook itself. And that's what we're going to demo today. I just want to call out playbooks are useful beyond ITSM. But today we're just going to focus on their application with ITSM. And I'll hand it over to Amanda to review advanced work assignment.
Yes. So agent slash advanced work assignment. Oh, sorry, there's some echo. Brittany, if you could mute for a second, there's some echo. Sorry. No, you're good. The agent chat slash advanced work assignment. The main reason we paired this along with Playbook specifically is the whole goal is to just improve the overall experience both on the fulfiller and the customer side. So agent chat or playbooks mainly focusing on filling that or fulfilling that experience for the agent, whereas with agent chat, that pretty much improves that overall customer side experience. So as far as the problem statement, without agent chat, in general, there's a lot of different user interaction channels, just different methods that an agent can actually, or that a customer can actually reach out to that agent. That could be things like your emails, for example, maybe knowledge articles, things of that sort. And depending on maybe the state of your portal, wait times, so on and so forth, it can be a little bit difficult just to know what method should we use or what that most effective method is. So having agent chat available, this is a great way to just offer that direct connection to get some live assistance on a particular issue, especially if your customers are having trouble kind of navigating those different channels that you have set up. Agent chat, the plugin itself is going to provide a long list of features. It does have many dependencies. That's why we specifically highlighted the advanced work assignment. Advanced work assignment is kind of like the powerhouse behind agent chat. So agent chat is pretty much just making sure that you have that ability there available on your portal for the agents to customers to contact the agents, whereas advanced work assignment is doing all the work behind the scenes, making sure, you know, when a user actually does need to connect to an agent, is it going to the right person based on things like skills, capacity, so on and so forth, just trying to make sure that you are increasing things like some of the items that we have on the screen here. So that'll be like your first call resolution, for example. If, of course, if the first person that you get assigned to, they're able to successfully solve your problem, that's a really good customer experience overall. We also have that reduced average handling time, kind of tying into that first point. And then again, all of these factors will just overall holistically improve that customer satisfaction. So today in our demo, we'll definitely be looking at how to set up these features, but advanced work assignment as a whole, it has a lot of capabilities that it's able to use in order to just making sure that you're providing the best experience to your customers. For the plugins, I talked about this a little bit on the previous slide. Agent Chat is mainly our parent plugin. So that's going to bring in advanced work assignment as we see some of the simple capabilities that they have. Interactions management, this could be brought in due to a couple of other items that you might have. So for example, if you already have virtual agent, yeah, that will bring in some of these other methods, but our next major plugin on the left-hand side will be virtual agent. You do need a way for those agents to actually contact, or those customers actually contact the agent. Virtual agent will be that main method. So you're not really able to use agent chat without at least having that virtual agent set up and ready to go. Oh, you're on mute.
All right. Thank you so much, Amanda. Those are some great benefits in utilizing these ServiceNow solutions. As mentioned for our demo, we'll showcase playbooks, agent chat, and advanced work assignment and service operations workspace. I do want to get you guys to understand what the demo is about. During this demo, you will see different personas, the scenario itself, and the utilization of ServiceNow solutions, which produces amazing outcomes for all personas here. So for the personas, we have our customer who has a hardware issue, Beth, the service desk agent. If you ever impersonate a user in ServiceNow, I'm pretty sure you impersonated Beth. She's a real one, resolving the incidents end to end. And then we don't really showcase the incident process owner, but I would like to call them out because they basically create the process to give to the admin so they can configure it in the back end. And the admin is doing those configurations of ServiceNow for agent chat, advanced work assignment, and playbook. So this is what the scenario looks like. The customer has a laptop issue and it initiates a support request via virtual chat. So you're going to see all of this in our demo in a second. Beth, the agent, handles the request, leveraging playbooks and service operations workspace to resolve the incident efficiently. The incident process owner has created the hardware playbook process in the back end where the admin configures it, as well as configures the chat, advanced work assignment, and the playbooks for a seamless operation process. In the fourth column, you can see where we've called out ServiceNow solutions. So Employee Center, Virtual Agent, Service Operations Workspace, Playbooks, Incident Management. These are all the ServiceNow solutions that are associated with these outcomes, which the customer benefits from a unified portal, which is that Employee Center that you'll see for the quick second, and quick issue reporting using Virtual Agent. Beth streamlines her work and reduces MTR by utilizing Playbook Service Operations Workspace, as well as it eliminates the swivel chair. And then the process owner digitizes their procedure for better first call resolution, and the admin ensures all configurations are in place. So now let's walk through the demo to see the scenario live and the outcomes play out and be configured to deliver efficient service operations. So Amanda, I'm going to hand it to you and I'll stop sharing my screen.
I'll go ahead and share my screen.
Okay, here we
And
go.
I want to start first by just tying a couple of visuals to some of the bullet points mentioned on the slides. So what I have here, this is pretty much my customer POV. So I'm on my designated portal. I'm choosing Employee Center in this case, but it pretty much will be a similar concept regardless of portals. So here we have our Employee Center portal. Lots of different resources here, like our quick links, popular topics, a couple of recommended for you. But depending on just what it is that the customer needs, maybe they're not exactly finding their issue or they've kind of exhausted all other resources. So again, virtual agent, it will need to be set up just for that actual live connection. But this is pretty much where they can go in, they've exhausted all of those resources and then directly connect to that live agent. So in this case, we don't necessarily have it configured yet. So of course, no agents will be available, but I will flip over to my other screen and we can look at things just from the agent side, where specifically they will be fulfilling these requests that come in. But we've seen this interface a couple of times before, our service operations workspace. Once you have those plugins installed, so your agent chat, AWA, that's going to bring in this inbox tool. So if you don't already have that, that's just because of those plugins, they haven't been installed yet. But once you bring in that plugin agent chat, you'll see it comes with a couple of roles. So you'll need to make sure the audience or the specific group of agents that will be handling these requests, they have that AWA agent role specifically, so that they are able to come in here and kind of manage their presence, state things like whether or not they're available to take some of these incoming chats that are coming in. So right now, as far as our status, we don't really have available. And then again, it's not configured yet. So I'll actually switch over to my admin view just so that we can see how to set all of these things up. I'll go ahead and end my impersonation. Kind of like I mentioned, you'll have to have some of those prerequisites first. So making sure all of your plugins are installed, and then a little bit of configuration in virtual agent to make sure on this interface here you actually have, that live agent connection available for your users to click on. But we won't get into virtual agent too much. But once you have everything installed, the first step in all of these items that we'll be looking at today, those are all in those links that Brittany sent in the chat as well, all of the steps that we'll be watching. So we'll go to this module here, conversational interfaces. This module, this application, this is specifically brought in from Virtual Agent. And there's a lot of different things that you can configure here, but pretty much anything, any type of feature that you could use to start conversations. So that'll be kind of like what we're looking at today, your virtual agent. Even in SOW, if you've seen, you can collaborate with other agents using sidebar. So all of those different conversational interfaces can be managed through this application menu here. So I've clicked specifically on settings, and then pretty much whatever you have installed, VA, agent chat sidebar, all of these features would be where you can specifically go and then activate those. So for agent chat specifically, one of the first prereqs is just making sure that ability to even contact that agent is activated. Um, Once you've activated it, that's pretty much the minimum requirement, but definitely depending on what specific features you want to tailor, you'll have a couple of properties here in the settings menu. But moving on to the next prereq before we get into actually configuring that advanced work assignment, you'll also need to make sure the conversation is activated for that live agent connection. So when I was in my virtual agent, the fact that I could even, type live agent or request for that is due to these conversations that we've seen here. Today we won't get into virtual agent too much, but just for anyone who doesn't have that set up, not too familiar, once you install that, you'll pretty much see a long list of what we call our conversations. This is pretty much the flow that virtual agent is following. So when you tell it to search for a KB article, for example, it's doing all of the flows, those actions in the background, fetching that KB article and then returning it to that user. So that's specifically what we're going to call our live agent. And then depending on what you have, if you have Now Assist live agent specifically, you'll see the live agent with Now Assist, but pretty much you'll need to do a quick search for anything that contains live or agent, and that's going to display a collection of some of these conversation topics. So your basic one will just be your standard live agent, and then again, if you have that Now Assist connection, you'll be able to activate that, but you pretty much need to just go into here and make sure that that is actually set to active. Those are the first two prereqs as far as making sure that it is available. But as far as how that agent chat works, so how it's going to find those users, what it goes based off of that criteria, it will be controlled through our advanced work assignment module. Again, an agent chat will bring in all of these features. There is an optional plugin that I didn't necessarily have mentioned called our advanced work assignment advanced capabilities. And that's mainly if you want to go beyond some of the features that we see here. So I'll talk a little bit more about just the basic functionality, and then we can lightly dive into some of those advanced features as well. But in our advanced work assignment module or application menu here, we're going to have a long list of modules. In my opinion, it makes it a lot easier, at least to do the initial setup with this guided setup, so this home module specifically. And depending on what you have installed, you'll see just a couple of suggestions on things that you could install just to enhance AWA. So this is just what I have, but depending on what you are currently using, it might look a little bit different, or you might get different suggestions there at the top. But as far as what we see, it is split up into our three main categories. That's going to be your essential settings. So what are the minimum things that we need to at least get this thing working? Additional settings. So these are pretty much items that are out of the box. So as far as presence, we saw that on our other slide, but a user essentially can mark themselves as available, away, so on and so forth. So if you do have specific requirements that you need to add, or a lot of the times there's a couple of integrations, right? So your Microsoft Teams, if you're using that as your main virtual agent instead of ServiceNow, you can pretty much integrate the Microsoft statuses with the AWA statuses that we see here. So just a couple of optional steps, but again, these are pre-configured, so they work as long as you have these essential items filled out. Um, and then we have our advanced settings. So diving just a little bit into some of the advanced capabilities, we won't go into this too much, but setting up things like looking at work history. If you see an agent, frequently works with a specific customer, a lot of the times customers just like familiar faces. It's someone that they worked with before. They don't necessarily need to re-explain the whole history of what's wrong, things of that sort. So we have a couple of items in the advanced settings to just improve that experience even further. But diving into our essential settings, this is going to be split up into our three main categories: our service channels, queues, and then the assignment rules specifically. So I definitely recommend just setting it up in this order, and then you'll be able to go back in and tie all the pieces together. Starting with our service channels specifically, and I'll go into this and click it on that. Pretty much what you'll see once you install the plugin is that you'll have a couple of out-of-the-box options. So you might see, for example, a chat. If you're using walk-up experience, you might see some of the different user interaction channels that you have. But clicking specifically on this chat record, this is essentially where you can do things like give it a name. So this is just going to be my chats, and then what table you're looking at. Again, that agent chat feature, virtual agent, a lot of the times it uses an interaction record. Interaction in this sense, or in this scenario, makes the most sense just because interaction is the main way that, before you know exactly what the issue is, how can I just log, some type of communication has occurred. So, this was commonly used in live or VA, specifically walk-up experience, but pretty much is logging the details before you know if it should be an incident, request, problem, so on and so forth. So interaction should be the correct method for virtual agent, of course. And then as far as conditions, this is mainly if you need to tailor it. A lot of the times when you do start that virtual agent conversation, the type will just be auto set to chat, just because this is a chat request coming in and not any of the other methods. If you want to add additional conditions, and this is where, it comes to you tailoring that workflow or that conversation, maybe you want to ask a couple of more questions before it does connect to that live agent. This is where you can just, further expand onto the conditions here. So type is chat, maybe category is software, hardware, just additional questions to make sure you're navigating that to the correct team. Um, Outside of these conditions, we're going to get into things like your capacity and utilization. So this is pretty much where you can set, what is the max capacity that an agent can work on. So in this example, we have 4 chats. So let's say 4 chats, an agent is assigned to 1. This pretty much just means that currently they're at that 25% capacity here. So depending on how many specific chats that an agent can come handle at the same time, you can further modify this if needed. But as far as our utilization conditions, we're pretty much just specifying, okay, if they're at 25% capacity, what does that mean? Um, Essentially, if the state is active, so if they have active chats open, not anything that's on hold, for example, or maybe something that's canceled, just actively opened interaction records, you can go ahead and just set those conditions for what determines them as being, utilized. There's a couple of other items that we have here. We'll get to these related lists in a moment, but that first initial setup, as far as just setting up the channel, what the table is, what the conditions are, that'll be that first step there. I'll move on to my next one. Additionally, we'll also see queues. So again, there's a couple of demo data that we'll have depending on what you have installed. So that agent chat plugin is going to bring in an agent chat queue out of the box. And then other walk-up experience, that phone queue. But in regards to chat specifically, the queue is pretty much how you can relate the previous steps of the channel, letting us know its interaction records. These are the conditions. This is how you can basically relate those conditions to who will be fulfilling that. So that everything that we looked at up until then, anything that is just an active interaction record, this is the group that I want to actually fulfill that. So what we see here, we can continue to add some additional conditions as well. mainly in regard to that user record. So just making sure that this user is available, things of that sort. But in this case, we'll just leave it empty. And then what you'll see once you fill out this initial information is that the assignment eligibility will appear as part of the related list. This is where you can do that kind of many-to-many connection. So our agent trap chat user group, you'll want to make sure this user group has the required roles. So AWA admin, this will just make sure that when they log on to SOW, they'll actually see that inbox button. And then the next step, assignment rule, we'll actually get to that in our third step under essential settings. So once you do this, then you're able to go back into that queue and just map and include that assignment rule that for that queue that you just entered. So we'll go into our assignment rules specifically, again, similar out of the box records, but I'll just click on one of these that we have. And when you're creating the assignment rule, this is pretty much, how do I want to assign work to a user? So there's a couple of options here. Right at the bat, we have last assigned. So if you have a group of people, 5 people, whoever was the last assigned person, let's just go to the next person in the line in that queue. Or you can do it based on capacity. We saw capacity in that first step when we were setting up the service channels, just what's considered capacity. So we had that 1/4, one interaction record being assigned would mean that they are at 25% capacity. So leaving it as this, assigned by most capacity, this is just making sure when you do auto assign that work to an agent, or when it appears in their inbox, it's actually going to the least utilized agent instead of someone who is heavily utilized. That's just some of the basic configuration. You could leave it as is, but if you want to just tailor it a little bit more, you could do things like auto assignment. So as is, without this checked, users currently will have the option either, yes, I want to accept this, no, I want to decline this request. In that case, it would go to the next person in that queue. But if we do enable this auto assignment that we have here, then it'll just automatically get assigned, to the person that meets this criteria. So that's definitely one option. Without auto assignment, obviously that kind of hides this rejection handling here. So if you do give users the option to reject, you can just further configure, what happens when they reject. So you can either allow agents to reject, you can just remove that option completely. You can give them a timeout as well. So in this case, after 1 minute, if it's on their screen for more than 1 minute, it'll just reassign automatically on that timeout to the next person in the queue, also not heavily utilized, things of that sort. But one of the cool features with AWA is that it does integrate with one of the out-of-the-box capabilities called our skills management application. So anyone not familiar with skills management, this is pretty much where you can say, here's a skill, here's the users who have this skill and what's their level. So if someone's pretty advanced in this, they can probably handle more advanced queries. If someone's not as advanced, maybe they can handle some of the more basic questions. But enabling that skills management, will kind of bring in a couple of more options just to make sure that you are not only just assigning it to the person based on these rules that we looked at so far, but making sure that the skills match as well. So those are the 3 essential things. Honestly, I think they should have put the present states in essential, but this is definitely one of the last things that I would say, last minimum items before you at least get everything working. And the reason this is, we have our present states. So we saw this a little bit when I impersonated Beth, but as of now, she can pretty much only see these bottom 4. So busy, wrap up, away, offline. In this present states, if you do have those specific requirements that I mentioned, so a good example, if you're using Microsoft and you want to integrate or kind of map the Microsoft statuses to ServiceNow, you can do that here. But the main thing that you'll need to do is the availability. So whether or not or someone can set themselves as available, that is tracked in the present state. It is false by default, just because they want to just make sure everything is set up before you do make that feature available for your agents and the customers as well. So once you make that availability present state activated, you can also just make sure, for the service channels. So service channels, those are just who or what criteria is available for users to request that agent chat. So chat was the one that we mainly configured. If you want to make phone or any other channels available, you'll just have to move that over into the selected channel. So I'll go ahead, make that available. And now we will impersonate Beth again and see what that looks like when everything is up and running. So again, in my workspace, now that we've got everything configured, I'm able to hop over to and mark myself as available for my status. And I'll go ahead and just click on this again. So now we have a little bit of a different message here. Let me see if I can just start that new conversation and request to connect to my live agent support. So now we have a different message. We're on standby. And this is specifically once everything's configured, you'll see that that appears in this inbox here. So since due to our settings, we do allow them to either reject or accept. I'll go ahead and accept it in this case. And what that will do is just pop open this little chat that we see here. So in this chat, I'm able to directly communicate with the customer. This is kind of that bridge between, my interface and the customer. So no, you're not really able to use virtual agent within workspaces, more of a portal kind of thing. But I'm able to use this little interface here to just communicate with the customer. And on the flip side, they're able to receive those messages. So I'll just write some example, like I'm having hardware issues. And then you'll see that message also returns on the flip side. Within here, there's a couple of actions that we have. So quick actions, this is something that can be configured. For example, if I want to auto create an incident, maybe search through a KB and attach it to the chat, or transfer to a different agent or a completely different queue. So a couple of different quick chats. I can even do private chats in the case where, maybe I transfer it to an agent. I need to escalate this, but I want to leave a couple of notes for them before I do that. So I'm going to, just fill out some of these. I'll just name this one demo. I'll go ahead and create my incident since it looks like they're having hardware issues. And I will set my category to hardware. So I'll go ahead, save that. And now that I've made that update, we see that a playbook appears. And this is where I will hand that over to Brittany just so that she can discuss things from the agent's point of view around playbooks.
All right, so let me share my screen. Okay, perfect. So thanks, Amanda, for showcasing the setup of Agent Chat and Advanced Work Assignment. Now Beth is in her service operations workspace, and it looks like there is a new incident. So I'm going to go there, and she's already showcased that there is a playbook. This is where we get into playbooks. Playbooks are like a process and procedure where there are steps to achieve that intended result we talked about. And in this case, it's to resolve the customer's hardware incident. So let's walk through the playbook steps for demonstration purposes. We have a very simple process with 3 stages and a few activities. The first stage is intake, second is troubleshoot, and the third is resolve. So the first thing is to create a new incident, to populate the description fields for the new incident record to be created and updated. So let's look at this. I just need to populate the description fields. Actually, let's see. And then I also need to update the work notes. And I click save. Once I click save, as you can see, the intake task has been completed. Now we're on to the troubleshoot task or stage. And that's where we're reviewing the knowledge article. So this playbook has a knowledge article inserted in for particular tickets like this. And then so we can actually view this article. And it looks like the knowledge article is basically saying, hey, I guess this is, hey, the laptop isn't turning on. And we can also look at this through Agent Assist by finding a knowledge article that it deals with laptop issues. So we can mark that complete. And then from there, you update the record and it did it automatically. So from here, it's updating the record after reviewing the incident details and completing troubleshooting steps, documenting findings in the work notes. So from there, we can go to details and see that the system updated the work notes saying knowledge article found for this issue and resolved by using one of the steps found in the article. So from there, we can go back to the playbook and we need to complete another step, update incident record. After reviewing the incident details and completing troubleshooting steps, document work notes. That's what we just did. So that's also completed. So now we're in the resolve stage. And this is where we're updating the incident with the appropriate resolution details. And we can say that it was resolved by caller or user error. She just basically user needed to plug power cord in. And that happens, right? We have user errors. So we're going to resolve that here in the playbook tab. And then as you can see, that initiates the next step, which is send resolution email. And then that resolution email is already filled out. The subject is this incident. It has been resolved. Please reference the knowledge article. So we'll send that email. And then our incident is resolved. And as you can see, the state has been changed. Oh, I don't see it here. Let me refresh. Yep. So the incident has been resolved. As you can see, the system has said resolved. It was in progress. The resolution code, user error, resolution notes, user needed to plug power cord in. So we have all of this and you can actually reopen the incident, but it's already resolved and it's good to go. And we just utilize playbooks for that. But how do you do that? That's the real question is how do you configure that in the back end? And we can do that by going to first, we have the impersonation of Beth and be an admin. So we'll end there. And then we go to process automation and then workflow studio. So you'll be taken to a different window, which opens Workflow Studio. And then from there, we're going to actually create playbooks. And it's not loading. Here it is. Create a playbook. So make sure you're in the playbook pill. And then you're going to create a new playbook here. And then from there, you're going to name your playbook. So we can name it hardware laptop power issue. This is where you just name your process or your procedure, right? And then add the description to give people more information. And then you build your playbook here. So now we're taken to the diagram view of a playbook. So this diagram view is here. There's a board view, and we'll showcase that in a second. But it's just different interactive ways to see stages and activities in the form of a workflow to continue to build your process. So this is like using Visio. You're basically creating your workflow like that. Prior to building your first stage, the design will prompt you to choose a trigger and set conditions to your process to run. So the trigger is what starts the process. So you can click the more actions here or the three dots and then start to click schedule. And this will help define your trigger. So we can put define your own conditions. And then from here, we can say record, create, or update. And then we choose the incident table. And then we can say the condition. And the condition is category is hardware. So in this case, what we're saying is anytime an incident is created or anytime an incident is updated and the category of an incident is hardware, it will trigger playbook. So if an incident does not have the category hardware, it would not trigger the playbook. So when we saw the playbook tab, that would not be there if the category hardware was not chosen. So that's the trigger that we're going to do. And that's done. And then now we're going to select the square to create the stage to put your activities in. Again, for this demonstration, we're only going to do a couple of stages, and that's where we're going to start. So this is a new stage. We're going to do an intake. It's the exact same stages as we saw when Beth was completing her playbook. It's going to be intake, troubleshoot, and resolve. So. And then it's going to start the rule when process starts. So there we are. And then we're going to create the other two stages, which is troubleshoot. And then the description. And that's going to start after specific stages. And then save and close. And then the resolve state. And then the description. And then that's going to start after the troubleshoot stage. So now we have the three intake stages or stages, which is intake, troubleshoot, and resolve. And then within that intake stage, we're going to select the plus sign. So this plus sign is going to add an activity, not a stage. You can also choose the diamond, which creates a decision. So creating that if then statement, but today we're not going to do that. We're going to just create just an activity. And then this is really cool where you can see a list of all the activities. There are already in place for you. There's three types. There's the non-interactive that runs behind the scenes and requires no user input. And then there's interactive that runs and prompts a user for input. And then of course there's optional, which you can't see right now. It's only on the board view with activities to toggle top and right. And that's for global usage. So for today, we're just going to use the wait for condition. And wait, I did want to read it. So wait for condition action causes the process to wait until the record matches the specified condition. So with Beth, we wanted her to actually complete the description. So fill out the description before she can go to any other step. And what that does is for you process owners out there, when you want process adherence, you want to make sure that people are actually utilizing the process itself, which is updating the incident. So if they're not updating the incident, then this is probably a great playbook to make sure that process is being met or the process is actually being done properly. So we put in the table, which is incident. And so let me do that. And then select the record. We're going to click here and then click the incident record. We're going to dog walk or dot walk. And then save and close and let me see. We're going to add the condition. So adding the condition here means that we're going to have description is not empty. So save. All right. So that's that for that stage and then the troubleshoot stage. And I might be going through this quickly because we only have a few minutes left. But this is where we review that knowledge article and we're going to have it show knowledge article and we can have a description. And then we can have the automation where the title is review knowledge article. And then you put the knowledge article you want there. It's going to search. And then you save and close that. So that's where she saw the knowledge article she needed to do or reference when resolving the incident. And now we're going to put the updated work notes. So having this automatically happen with updating the work notes is the automated update record. So update an existing record on ServiceNow table, and that's where we're going to have that. And I'll add the description. And again, this is to have a digitized process or procedure in the back end for people to reference. So we're going to select the record here to be incident record, and that table is already filled out, and then save and close, and then go back to that automation. And then what field do we want to fill out? And that's the work notes. And then from there, you can add a line to say what you want the work notes to say. So and that's the troubleshoot. And then we're going to go to the resolve. So with the resolve, we're going to use the process automation experience demo, and then go to incident resolution. And this is what the incident resolution can do, where you can update the incident with the appropriate resolution details. And that's what we saw with Beth. And then from there, we can do the walk, which is the incident record from that table, the incident table, and then modify the condition to say resolution notes is not empty. And you can do resolved by is not empty. Or you can do resolution code is not empty, whatever you would like in that. And then you can save and close. And then what also happened is we sent an email to the user. And the way you can do that is by the common activities and then send email. You can either do the non-interactive or the interactive, just in case you want to read through it. So the send an email, we won't add the description because of time. But basically you want to add your inputs here, and you can make sure you show additional properties. I forgot to say that, but make sure you show additional properties here so you can have everything that you need to fill out. And again, you can pre-populate anything you want in here, just as we saw that the knowledge article, we can put in the body. You can put the to be the caller, right? You can dot walk all the way to the caller, and that's the email they'll use. So we can save and close there. But then so that's the stages and those are the activities. That's how you create your playbook. I wanted to showcase the board view. It's kind of like a Kanban because you can go like this. You can add your activities. I love the board view as well. Again, the optional activities are here, that is going to go across all of these stages. But that's how you configure the playbook. And I'm not going to go through what it looks like because we just did it with Beth. But I will hand it over to Amanda to talk about Accelerator.
Yes. Are you able to share the PowerPoint?
Oh, yes. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes. So I
Right.
want to just kick it off to just one of the impact offerings that we have. For anyone that's looking into more information on how to set some of these tools that we looked up, for agent chat specifically, virtual agent accelerators would be a good resource. But I do want to highlight that as of a couple of weeks ago, we actually just released a new accelerator called our Jumpstart Your Workflow Automation Playbooks. So pretty much everything that we looked at today and more, if you're interested in further exploring playbooks capabilities, so how to set these up, just some of the different interfaces, because I saw a couple of questions in the Q&A actually, for example, whether or not playbooks are only available in SOW, only in workspaces, things of that sort. So there's definitely a lot of different areas where you can actually build playbooks, not just the portals or not even only for the agent experience. So definitely if you are interested in learning more and actually using or building out some of these playbooks, that would be a great accelerator to use. And then you can go to the next slide. And just a quick preview, impact customers, if you've taken the accelerators before, you're pretty much aware of the engagement flow. But how it works specifically is for these accelerators, we do actually take a copy of your instance. So you're able to specify, production instance, test, dev, whatever instance you specify, we can actually make a clone of that. And then as a part of this accelerator, we'll get all of the plugins set up. We'll get a couple of example playbooks, for incident process or whatever process that you might specify if you have a specific requirement. And we'll pretty much just demo that in your live instance and do some of that reverse engineering. Afterwards, we'll hand over that temporary instance, so you'll pretty much get your own additional sandbox for 30 days that you're able to play around with and kind of try out some of the features that we look at on that 90-minute call. And then next slide. And that leaves
Okay.
us with our last poll.
And I think we have a question in the chat. Can you use the playbook to instruct, and the question and answer, can you use the playbook to instruct the agents um, what they should do in each step rather than updating the incident? Yes. So there's a multitude of common activities that you can utilize. And you can definitely use instruction. There's actually a common activity that calls instruction, and you could just say mark as complete. It doesn't have to update the incident. So that's done. Okay, so let me share the results or in the poll here. So we do have it was 58 people participating in the poll. 50 or 42 said yes, this was super helpful, which is great. 2 people said no. I'm sorry that this didn't work out, but hopefully some of the documentation can help you with some of the questions that you might have. And then we have 14 people that says unsure at this point. And you know what? That's okay. Check out some of our other YouTube videos to get you started, help you with that transition. And if there are any questions, please let us know, especially in the chat as well, to make sure that the poll needs a yes with exclamation points. Oh, thanks. Oh, that's so sweet. We appreciate this. But of course, all the people that we weren't able to kind of connect with, I really want to make sure that you're able to get those resources that we provided in the chat and those links so you can get started. But all right. Thank you so much. I think we answered a lot of questions. If we didn't get to your question, we'll try to answer it in another series. All right. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.